Hello, Perez. Perez,
Yes,
can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can, Prof.
I can't hear people there. Are you hearing me? Screen.
Yes, we are seeing the screen, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you. So I needed to talk about the biotechnology developments in Uganda, but I want to say that at this time there are so many for me to give a detail of. So what I have done is to put a few thoughts together. And this I would call it an overview, applications and regulation. And I would really not claim in any way that I have been put in a comprehensive piece together, because I did this piece in just 20, 25, 30 minutes just to get ready for this meeting, because I've been also engaged in several numerous other meetings. And you permit me that after speaking and maybe after addressing the questions, I'll have to log out and be present in another meeting or in another arrangement. This is myself, like I've already told you. My name is Tugume, and I'm the head of department where I have worked for the last 21 years, and I'm glad to have been part of the group which formed this particular degree program way back that I'll be talking about. But it has a history why the BSc Biotechnology program was created. Like you know, biotechnology refers to any technological application that uses biological systems or living organisms, or their, I think that is to be narrow-minded when one begins to think that biotechnology is about improving. Actually, we go far beyond than that. Making wine, cheese, chocolates, and all forms of modifications of different, you are involving biological systems, you are involving living organisms, you are even if you use dead organic, that will be biotechnology. We have many applications across the country in the I'm sorry, I'd gotten off. I'm now back. And my point was that there are many biotech applications in the healthcare system. And I was saying that COVID has been around. Everyone talks about vaccines. Those vaccines in the 17th century, those vaccines are made with modern biotech tools and modern biotechnology that we all must get to know if we are interested. In agriculture, in environment, in managing our ecosystems, in food security and food processing and food values, in industry, in mineral exploration, in conservation and protection of natural resources, in social security and biological welfare. You've heard people assuming and hypothesizing that COVID was created. I can confidently say it's a possibility. I'm not saying it was created, but I'm saying if human beings wanted to create it, they can. These are things that we need to be aware about. And so the applications are quite many in different industries, in nanotechnology, in so many different areas. I think the limit is actually not there. There are so many technologies that we can think of. Now in Uganda, we started observing some time back, I was still a young scientist, that there are some quite interesting institutional developments which were more or less like in tandem with advancements in technology. If you hear of many technologies like WhatsApp and Facebook, they are usually a result because of so many technologies that are emerged out of the ICT. Similarly, in biotechnology, we started seeing certain departments, certain units, certain programs, certain platforms being created within the country. For example, there was a creation of the School of Biosecurity, Biotech, and Biolaboratory Sciences in Kovar, the College of Veterinary Medicine and Biosecurities, Center of Plant Sciences, Microbiology, and Biotechnology, degrees programs like Bachelor of Science in Biotechnology. There is a program in PhD plant breeding and biotechnology. You begin hearing names: technology, biotechnology, biosystems, bioinnovations. You know there should be something hanging up in people's minds when you begin realizing that. But the speed in advancement of biotechnology is okay, but it might be slowed down due to unintended challenges associated with technology and misunderstanding. And so there's, but one of the things that I have learned is that a number of people in Africa fail to actually agree, to believe in their own selves and believe only in technologies that have been imported. And that is not to say that importing technologies is not a bad idea. It's not actually a bad idea at all. But what we are trying to say that we need to learn where the world is going. If you are still stuck to your traditional ways of learning and you want to go to school and get taught in class, and you don't offer room for online learning, you are going to be phased out of the learning system. And so the whole world is moving in a particular direction, and therefore we also needed to buy in on terms of biotechnology. There have been lots of advancement and progress and tools, but what I can say to us is that the tools and technologies of the 13th century cannot be used to solve problems of the 21st century. And therefore, there will be need for change in the methods, change in the approach, change in the thinking, change in the way of doing things if we are to remain relevant. And by depend on what you are trying to solve. The President of the Republic of Uganda repeatedly, almost, if you hear the President going to talk on a speech, you can almost predict what he's going to talk about. He has always talked about that in order for the country to move forward, there must be a healthy human resource. You cannot have sick people working. You'll not be able to produce enough. You got to have a lot of industrialization. You cannot stifle the private sector, although sometimes it's stifled, but you cannot survive by stifling the private sector. And then undeveloped agriculture. He also talks about infrastructure, electricity, roads, and whatnot. All those things, you are going to find that technology and science generally is involved. And now we want to zero down to biotechnology. We got to be able to reduce diseases of crops, livestock, and forest resources, improving food and nutrition, improving human health, protecting the environment. All these are sparse. And when I talk about this one, biotechnology is everywhere in all these. Things. Talk about health challenges with my improvement, and I cannot be able to do that. We talk about diabetes, people suffering from diseases. We talk about so much waste in the animals, in the city abattoirs. talk about plantation diseases, wastes, crop diseases, and so on and so forth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to bring you to speed that biotechnology is where it is because it started at some point. About 10,000 years ago, man began to do some form of farming, some form of agriculture. When man began to recognize that there were visible differences between cultivated plants or animals that are taken care of and those which are in the wild. And so the practice of genetic improvement of animals and plants and so forth began a long time ago when man began making certain choices and not leaving others. So since that time, there has been a continuation of different technologies and each one being a prototype of the other. Today, in 2021, it is about, I was actually counting and I realized it was 199 years since Gregor Mendel discovered genetics. And that set into the dynamite. You can imagine only 199 years, just a very short period of time. I think there are people who are 110 years alive today on Earth. They were almost as old as Mendel, if you want. But this became a dynamite. And when you begin comparing different forms of living organisms, animals, plants, those which are domesticated, which are not domesticated, there is a huge difference between that. And because of that technology, man has been able to make an improvement in them using different systems, selection, improving plants, improving crops, improving different varieties of crops. And now when biotechnology came on board, many people did not thought that maybe we are playing God and so forth. It's not true. If you see on this slide that I'm presenting, there is an ancestor of maize, and maize is not branched today. And all these are there because we thought that we could maintain diversity. If you can maintain the diversity at the expense of food security, you may not be able to maintain your populations and your livelihoods. Now, the capacity of biotech in Uganda was actually at stake. Great stake. Now we have more than 200 scientists also at several levels of PhDs, and different institutions participate in many. To tell you that the science of biotech in Uganda did not start so much. I beg your pardon, I'd gone again. And I was saying in 1992, 1993, Makerere University proposed a research with GM-derived bovine somatotrophin hormone. This is a hormone which is usually present in milk, and it was an important research in the beef industry, and nobody knew what that meant and what that would be. There was no much understanding of GM. And at that time, I was in my senior 4, so I was not at the university. This is history which is in making. In 1995, there were clinical trials on genetically engineered H and actually do but set in motion of many things. So the point I'm trying to raise with this slide is that we started somewhere. And I think sometime in 1997, the president of Uganda received a call from the United States of American president to offer aid of GM maize for food. And GM maize for food, nobody knew what GM for food is. I mean, what was GM food? The president called a team of scientists that included at least 3 professors from Makerere University. I think one of them was Professor Bahayo and some other commissioners in the Ministry of Agriculture. And the president called them and said, is this GM food safe? That was the main question the president asked. So they set up question, they said, and some of the professors said, no, the food is safe. But the president, being him who he is, he felt like he was unsafe, and he started putting in motion measures to be able to form a team of scientists in the country, training Ugandans on GM technology. And that actually informed the president why the National Biotechnology Laboratories in Uganda was set up, because the president was so interested in knowing, are we safe in applying biotechnology in Uganda? Today, the rest of it is history. I cannot be able to go into the history because I didn't have much time. The point I'm trying to say that there were so many processes which the country went through in different stages. Please note that during this time, there was nothing, a degree of Bachelor of Science in Biotechnology. There was nothing like a Master of Science in Biotechnology. There was nothing like a PhD. There was completely nothing. All these things are happening in space as if there was nothing happening. Now, I want to mention that when things did happen like that, so many developments happened, and different developments started happening in different sectors of the country. And I want to run quickly to my very last slides because I didn't want to bore you with so many things which you know. We first thought of the Bachelor of Science in Biotechnology in the year 2006. This is the time when I was the second year for my PhD at the university time. And we first thought of a degree program, but we never had a platform because at that time our department was having only, I think it was having only 2 academic programs. There was the traditional Bachelor of Science with botany as a subject, and there was also ethnobotany. So in 2006, we began thinking together. And at this time, I really want to acknowledge particular team players who are involved in this work, and of notable contributions were those who are not in this meeting, perhaps Dr. Changa, who was also working at Kawanda, Dr. P.N.S. Chimpi, who has been a lecturer at the Islamic University in Mbale. Those are people who are not part of Makerere University, but who are actually part and heart of soul of this particular program. So in 2007, there was a call which was issued by the Uganda National Council of Science and Technology, and they were inviting applications to for many different windows. And one of the windows was academic programs. And that's where we started putting together this particular proposal. And our team leader was Professor Moriga, who is with us today. He's still alive. He can be able to attest. And we started putting it together. I was looking for our first photograph, which I missed getting on my computer, where we took a photograph as we are designing the first curriculum. So we designed the first curriculum and we submitted it. We did not go through because the curriculum was called Bachelor of Science Plant Biotechnology. And the issue was that let students put in different things. It was rejected the first round, and the second round were rejected. On the third round, the team leader this time was Professor, at that time he was Associate Professor Sylvester Nyakana. And the team leaders were myself, that is Mr. Arthur Tugume that time. I wasn't a doctor at that time. Dr. Mama Tennessee, who is currently the Vice Chancellor of Bishop Stewart University in Mbarara, Dr. Jared Mutumba. We worked, and the program eventually was approved by the Uganda National Council of Science and Technology, and our first cohort of students was in 2010. I am glad that some of the first cohort of students should be on this particular forum. I think I saw someone whom we taught, I think Lillian Samanya was one of this group. There were 28 students in 2011. Now, we had problems. At that time, I was a coordinator of the entire unit of botany. I was a coordinator, more or less like a head. I was coordinating some of these programs. And I can tell you, we were only in solving problems. We didn't have a lab. We didn't have an equipment. We didn't have practical sessions. We had to pay the teachers to teach on the program. It was problems only. And I remember encouraging many of the students who were there. I said, please, firstborns of every family, they suffer more than the other siblings. And I kept telling these students this. I remember there was a crisis when we had to get lots of money from the Vice Chancellor's office, so many problems. And I think those who were on the first program, they can attest to that, how we solved so many of these problems. Some of them we didn't solve, we didn't have equipments, we had to, oh my God. But I'm glad that we are now talking of 10 years, and the 10 years after conception have been extremely challenging, but we have had so much lessons to learn. I want to thank the cooperation of the student leaders. We always cooperate. We always talk about these things out. And I want to encourage them that they have loved their program. They have loved their discipline. And in the first group of students, the cutoff points for Makerere University for this program were actually higher than medicine. We are not discouraging that we should not have so many students. And for that reason, the university at one time wanted to admit 2 parallel programs. And I told the university we cannot be able, because we don't have sufficient capacity in terms of staffing. We are overloaded. In other words, this is an area which is buying in and large and cutting and, getting everyone by surprise. I want to thank you for being active in this meeting, for participating, and all I can say, we are not going to let go. People still ask themselves questions, but I can tell you to use technology of this kind. But I want to encourage that we buy into all the different technologies and be able to put that together. Now, I want to thank maybe in this particular meeting, and others are not. Like I have said, it started like a I would love to stop here, ladies and gentlemen. My network is not doing me favor. I want to thank you for your attention. I've taken more time because